Are you only a Christian because you're the product of imperialism? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to In Between Sundays with me, Marco Arroyo. I'm glad you're here. Before we get into the video, if you would consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. Let me know what you think about what we're about to talk about. This is an amazing clip that we're about to take a look at in a second here. Also consider supporting the Patreon. I really would appreciate it. You get some perks with that, and you support the channel. Again, love you. Glad you're here. So we're about to watch this clip here. This clip by a guy named Cliff. How to say his last name? Knechtle. Maybe it's like that. Knechtle, Cliff Knechtle. We're about to watch this clip of Cliff Knechtle. He goes to like college campuses or different places. I mean, he's been doing this for decades, and there's a group of students around him, and he basically debates whoever wants to debate. If not, he just teaches stuff apologetics based, existence of God, reliability of the Bible, and defending the Bible in different circumstances as well. And here he is actually confronted with a claim. Now, to give you some context, I only saw a clip of this. I only saw a little clip. I'm going back a good bit to get some more context, but I only saw a clip of this. Basically, what he's dealing with here is the idea that religion is localized, and it's not because it's true. It's just because of where you grew up, and at least it's a version of what he's going to deal with here. Let's see what this amazing interaction has. You're going to be very surprised as to what happens.
You see, ma'am, obviously the point, I was trying to make 2 points with you. Do you know how frustrated I am with anthropology professors who sit back, or humanities professors, on major university campuses and say, Sub-Sahara Africans, we all know why they believe in Jesus. Because of colonization. Because they're nitwits. And they had the stupidity of believing these white missionaries. Ma'am, have you ever considered how elitist that is?
It's not stupid.
That is elitism up the wazoo. It's elitism.
It's forced down your throat.
There is no African today that I know of who had Jesus forced down their throat. I got a lot of African friends. I pastor a church. We got a lot of people from Ghana in the church. And I can promise you, not one of them had Jesus Christ slammed down their throat. Not one. These are doctors and lawyers and business people. These are incredibly well-educated people from Ghana, Africa, and they believe in Jesus because the evidence is Christ is reliable, not because they had some white missionary come and jam Jesus down their throat. And it is so elitist for anthropology professors on this campus or other campuses to portray Africans, those dumb nitwit Africans. They believe in Jesus because they had Jesus slammed down their throat by some colonialist.
Yeah, I think that the girl making that argument doesn't realize how horrible the argument is, how horrible it is to say that the only reason that this group believes in Christ is because they are not free enough thinkers, and they are forced essentially, and or at least they can't really search the evidence for themselves or something like that. That is pretty crazy to say that, yeah, that specific group of people are Africans, right? That they're just not searching the evidence for themselves, and it's getting pushed on them, and they can't know any better. They're not smart enough to know any better. I know she's not saying it that way, but that definitely is a consequence and a clear way, an easy way to reframe or rephrase, rather, what she's saying.
That is so elitist and biased. It's pathetic.
So you don't think there's any correlation between colonized populations and their beliefs coinciding with the beliefs of the colonizer?
I can promise you, a lot of white missionaries did tell Africans about Jesus. That is correct. And those Africans responded in faith. But those same Africans that accepted Christ reject American materialism, American secularism, because they know the spiritual is real, and they know that America and the West is spiritually bankrupt.
So what he's saying here is, she goes, because her point, I get where she's coming from, which is, I mean, you don't think that there's any correlation at all with the pushing of a certain religion? And again, pushing is not the forcing of a certain religion in this context. The pushing just simply means the promotion of a certain religion. You have all these white missionaries going to a country and they're preaching and preaching and preaching and preaching. And so therefore more and more and more and more people are becoming Christians and being part of Christianity. You don't think there's any correlation there? And he goes, of course there is. But it's not just because these people are getting Christianity promoted to them that they go, oh, wow, we need to be just like these Westerners. No, he's saying they have accepted the Christianity, but they have rejected the bad parts of what happens in the West. They're rejecting the bad parts of American materialism, for example, or just American materialism in general. So again, they are smart enough. How are we even talking about this? They're smart enough to be able to hear information and to analyze the information and to make a good, rational, sound judgment on their own. They're smart enough to do that. And so when presented with someone who is white from America who is preaching the gospel to them, they're smart enough to say, I will receive this message because it makes sense and the evidence backs it up that I should live my life for Jesus, and I will reject the negative parts of the culture that this person is part of. I mean, again, what are we even talking about here?
So my African brothers and sisters have had the open-mindedness to accept Jesus Christ and to reject American materialism. Bravo, Africa. Don't lose it.
She was thinking that because of bunch of white nationalists, as you said, bunch of white nationalists pushed Christianity down your throat.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe.
Whoa, did you hear that? Christianity was in Africa before Europe. Yeah, like Ethiopia. Go ahead, keep going, brother.
The Ethiopian Bible is older than the King James
And thank
Bible.
you. That's exactly right.
The argument that Christianity brought, that colonialism brought Christianity to Africa is completely wrong.
Why is it completely wrong?
Real quick, I'm laughing because Cliff obviously loves this. He's like, yeah, go. So the guy's saying, again, Christianity was in Africa before America.
Colonialism brought Christianity to Africa is completely wrong.
Why is it completely wrong?
Because Christianity was already in Africa before Europe.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe. Everybody hear that?
And one thing you need to know is that Christianity is not a European religion.
Whoa. One more time. Real loud.
Christianity is not a European religion.
Man, you're awesome. Christianity is not a white European faith religion. Keep going, brother. I like
So
you.
Jesus wasn't white. like
Jesus
you.
was not white. Keep going.
So he looked more like, the Jews. He was a Jewish man, right? So he was kind of brown. And even though, the Europeans brought European culture to Africa, for example, I'm from Nigeria, right? So the missionaries came to Nigeria and they set up schools and all that. So one thing you need to ask yourself is, why did the people there choose to accept this religion? And one of the reasons why they chose to accept this religion was that some of the values being propagated by this religion already aligned with their values. So for example, the Igbo people we call, they had names that they would call God, right? The Yorubas, they had names that they would call God. So they had a framework for these things already, right? So the Europeans came in and they brought the Christian religion, and immediately these people accepted it. Now, the missionaries came before the colonial masters came. So it was after the missionaries came in and they set up schools and missions and all these things that, British started the colonial endeavor in Africa. So Christianity already had a strong foundation in Africa, even before the British came in with colonialism.
I know that Nigeria was colonized by England,
Yeah.
and that the north of Nigeria is mostly Muslim,
Yeah.
and that the south is the
Mostly
south
Christian.
where the ports were,
Yeah.
where the English came,
Yeah.
is mostly Christian.
Yeah.
So, do you think that is a coincidence?
No, that is not a coincidence. So what the Muslims do is they go to a region and they force the people to accept their faith. So if you don't accept, they kill you. So he carried out that jihad from the north. He conquered several territories, and then he was coming toward the south. So it was there's the I don't know.
Real quick, it's pretty wild that she, with her knowledge of anthropology and her knowledge of Nigeria, is trying to debate a guy who is clearly from Nigeria. I mean, his accent is so, it's not like he came here when he was 1 year old. He has such a thick accent. As you know, I'm Mexican. You can tell sometimes, I don't have a thick Mexican accent because I wasn't born in Mexico. But with him, not only was he born in Nigeria, I can tell by the way his accent is. It was not that long ago that he was in Nigeria. He might just be here only for college. And she's trying to debate him about Nigeria and about the history of Nigeria when it comes to religion. That is very, very interesting and bold of her.
If you've heard of the Benin Kingdom. The Benin Kingdom. It was the army of the Benin Kingdom in Auchi, Edo State, that stopped the advance. So that is why some parts of Auchi in Edo State, Nigeria, they are Muslims, because that was where the jihad stopped. So the reason most of those places are Muslim places today is because there was a Muslim army that carried out a jihad. And it's, even some of the Muslim regions today in Europe, it was basically the same reason. They carry out what they call holy war, and they take it to different territories. If you don't accept the faith, you are slaughtered.
So what he's basically telling her is some people were years ago forced to convert to Islam, and if they didn't, they would be killed. So essentially, they were forced, and so it's understandable that there would be a lot of Muslims left over today, still there today in Nigeria. And so again, it's not necessarily. It's not completely wrong. The idea that if a religion is heavily promoted, odds are people will start to adhere to the religion. But the idea that Christianity is like this white or this European religion is crazy. It didn't start in Europe. It didn't start in Europe. Maybe you might say, well, it was mostly promoted, by white Europeans. Fine, but it doesn't make it a white European religion. It didn't even start there. And if you understand anything at all about Christianity, it's not even a whatever part of the world religion. It is God's religion. It is a religion that transcends borders. It is a religion that transcends peoples. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world, John 18, verse number 36. Jesus doesn't care really about borders, or he doesn't care about different places on the earth. Christianity is for everyone. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation to everyone who believes. Romans 1:16. Peter said this, God shows no partiality in Acts 10, verse number 34. The idea that this is some kind of an attack or good argument against Christianity is so ridiculous, and it's evidence of ignorance to Christianity. It's contrary to the very nature of what Christianity is. I hope that was as entertaining for you as it was for me to watch. What are the odds that one of the perfect people who could ever answer that is right there watching and he steps in? Let me know what you think. Am I completely off base about this? Did I get this wrong? Did the Nigerian man get Nigeria wrong? Let me know what you think about this. Comment your thoughts. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider supporting on Patreon. God bless you. I will see you next time. Goodbye.